I think for most of us, we had to kind of grow up and see that our parents, as you all have mentioned, they, they were still kind of adapting to this new environment. Again, immigrant background, everything else like that. Adapting to a new culture, adapting to, different things they were seeing, trying to balance, multiple children, because obviously many of us come from homes where there's lots of kids. That's just like a norm for us growing up. Um, but I think now that we're adults, it's always nice to see how those relationships evolve. Because like now, my mom is like one of my best friends. Like I mentioned earlier, she calls me for everything. Tells me everything, like even things I don't want to hear. So it's like the dynamics of the relationship change as you grow older, because now they see you as an equal, if you want to call it that. I mean, of course, they're still going to see you as a child first, but they're able to kind of look at you in a way that, I did well with my kid. My kids are grown up now, and now I can have that meaningful relationship. And I think for us too, we can also, maybe the relationship we didn't have growing up, we're able to kind of foster it now that we're adults with our parents. So that kind of switches over perfectly to this question. What do you value most about your parents or elders now that you're an adult, with your own children or just in general? And is there anything you would like to say to your parents? So again, we encourage our viewers to contribute on the Slido, panelists as well. So let's see. Curtis, if you can just kind of answer first, like what would just one thing that you value the most about maybe your upbringing, and then how you're passing that on, with your son now, and maybe one word for your parents that you would like to tell them.
So I grew up with my mom, so it was a single mother household for me. I knew my father. He was, I still talk to him to this day, but I just didn't live with him, due to their parental differences and relationship differences. So I guess with that experience, for me, my experience of my mom was really built on, working and providing, and, it was, which left limited time for us and things of that nature. So I guess from that relationship and that understanding, it put me more in tune of how important time is now with my children, my son for right now, but hopefully children in the future. How going to those basketball games, or spending time with actually to teach him something, or doing things that he's interested in, how important that is. And because they don't see you working, they don't see the money, they don't see the value of those things. They see when you're there for them. So I remember watching an interview by Toby Ngwe. If y'all know, he's an up and coming rapper, and he talked about you can fake it like you care, but you can't fake it like you're there. So I want to make sure that I'm there for my son, and not just saying that I have to provide, I have to go out and work. I want to make sure I'm there. So, I mean, one word from my parents is that I guess I value your time more than your money. So,
definitely resilience. They, in as much as we might sometimes think they were too harsh, or they helped us to be strong, maybe stronger than we needed to be sometimes, but but I want to say that it helped me greatly when I came here, because it's very hard to break an African immigrant, because we're what your parents are already gonna say, like, does that person have two heads, those kind of things. And it's funny to hear, but in our head somewhere we take that, and it's like, yeah, I can push, I can keep regardless of the obstacles. And so for me, even though there are tweaks here and there that I feel that I can apply to my kids to hopefully make it better, but I feel like that firmness, that push is really the foundation of anything I've overcome, when I had to be away from them and stand on my own. So for me, definitely resilience.
Resilience. I value their unbreakable spirit. I don't even think they knew that they were wrong. I don't think they did. No, but I really appreciate the sacrifices that my parents made, especially now that I am an adult. And just to imagine that they left the country without their parents, and without any true guidance day to day, and having to just rely on what they knew. And a lot of times what they knew wasn't always the best. However, they didn't really have parents that had, I guess, were able to unpack what was good and what wasn't good in their own training. Those conversations weren't didn't come up. So how do you correct something that you haven't identified is wrong, right? So I do extend a lot of grace to my parents, and I appreciate just keeping me alive and keeping my siblings alive. And there's 8 of us, not in a foreign country. That the type of sacrifices that they made, the type of money that was spent, the type of oh my goodness, yet they are. It's really how you carry your burdens, right? And that's one thing I did learn from them. If you perceive your burdens as heavy, they will feel heavy and they will look heavy on you. If you perceive it as in, like, you know what, I just have to do what I have to do, then you will look like you're not carrying anything. And Akira knows my parents, and I will say that I'm blessed to have them. I'm blessed to see them stand tall and strong, and thank God that we're all doing relatively well considering all factors. So thank you.
I guess the older you get, the more valuable you really start. The closer you get to the older people, you start valuing. Oh yes, I know something. I'm worth something. You know, one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard is that, guess what? Your soul never feels old. Isn't that a beautiful feeling? That doesn't matter if you're 7 years old. You're not going to feel any different than when you felt when you were 15 years old. Now the body may be feeling different, but the soul will stay beautiful and will stay hopeful and will stay thriving until its last moment on this earth. So I think the inspiration, that's knowing where, going up the stations of life, and all of a sudden seeing that the rules are not reversed and you're the one, being the strict and stringent one. You're the one in a position where the last time you heard that conversation, it was being said and you were on the other side, and oh my goodness, that's what they meant. And I think with every revelation that we get as we grow older, the more we begin to appreciate our parents, understand the sacrifice, and I guess stay more motivated to even pay it forward to our children, right? So that they can have a much better life than we had.
I do want to add to that, which just everyone has been saying pretty much the same thing. Again, just that immigrant experience, there were just so many challenges that our parents faced. Obviously, some people we may never know because, we had the privilege of being brought up or growing up in this kind of environment. So we didn't see things in a way that they saw it or experienced it. So definitely that resilience, that pride in, who you are as a people. Again, Tamaka knows this, like going to those functions, seeing and learning about your cultural heritage. It was like not being in the village, but it kind of gave you that feeling of growing up back home, as close as they could make it. Being able to see, different parts of your culture, like, see like masquerades and, the breaking of so many things that we were taught in a special way, like outside of the home, and the kind of community center kind of gathering with other people within the community. So yeah, just, I would say that resilience is definitely one big one, coming from that kind of background, having to, sacrifice so much, being away from your family, like one of you have mentioned. So, definitely appreciate them for all that they did for us. And, obviously we're still alive. So, but I will say one thing that, jokes aside, as I was kind of looking up some material, like with some of the different people. I know, like, one thing that we like to do is make fun of, our parents, and make fun of the things they say, how they say things, and how they kind of respond to different things when we were growing up. So in as much as, like, we laugh at those things, and sometimes they can be kind of harmful, like watching those videos and seeing them say certain things, like, in a way it kind of built us, built character to some extent. I'm not saying that's the best approach, obviously, but that's what they knew to do, and it's up to us at this point in our lives to kind of figure out what things we can continue on with, and what things we can just kind of push to the side as it relates to raising the next generation.